What's up, everybody? It's Cool Sports Guy live coming out to you right in the off season of football. A lot of great stuff to talk about. And without further ado, I'm going to bring our hosts, Tom, Mr. Jay Rice, on the mic. How you guys doing today?
I am fantastic. How are y'all?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. There's so much amazing storylines going on in the NFL right now. So even though it seems like not too much to talk about, plenty to talk about. So we're gonna, if you guys don't mind, let's talk about next year, right? No, does that sound like a pretty good?
Never
Way too
early.
early predictions. Yeah, way too early predictions. I don't have like a graphic or anything crazy, but we can shake the screen and pretend it's really crazy stuff. So way too early predictions. I don't know which guys y'all want to do. AFC, NFC, coin flip. Which one y'all want to go with first?
I have the AFC at the top of my page. We just want to start with the AFC.
Let's go for it.
AFC is the best. So for that, so starting off there, I'll break it down for everybody. We're going to start with the 7 playoff teams for next year. I think it's a small fact. I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but 4 new teams make it to the playoffs, and 4 teams don't make it to the playoffs from year to year. Is that the fact that I remember? You remember that, Tom?
Yeah, I thought it was 3.
3? Okay, so yeah.
I would say
So
it's closer to 3, yeah.
like from year
I
to
don't
year,
necessarily
right?
know if that's what I have here, but
Pretty I mean, like, yeah, fairly accurate. I mean, we're off by 1 if anything else, right? So a lot can change in 1 year. We talked to the Bengals, and you can go from 4 wins to playoff team. So but I'll let you guys go ahead and take this one. Let's go ahead and do 7 playoff teams for the AFC next year. Go ahead, guys. Tom, you go first. Tom, go for it.
okay. I put a lot of thought into this. That's not true at all. I did not put a lot of thought into this because, like you just said, it is way too early of a pick. So we have no idea what free agency is going to look like. We have no idea what trademarks going to look like. None of that. So here goes nothing. So I have the Chiefs at number 1 seed. I do have the Ravens at. Oh, I'm sorry. I have the Bills at number 2. I have the Ravens actually at number 3, and I have the Titans as the number 4 seed. So the team I kind of kicked out, believe it or not, is the Super Bowl appearing team. The Bengals didn't even make the wild card here. Now again, we don't know what trade looks like. We don't know what free agency looks like. Maybe Bengals address the offensive line and get it together. But we also have to keep in mind the Bengals were also in the position they were in because of the amount of injuries that happened to the Ravens, because of the Browns and the Steelers crumbling. So I'm not going to get into that too much right now. So I have the Colts number 7 playing at Bills on Wild Card Weekend. I have Chargers playing at Ravens, and I have the Raiders playing at Titans. And I have the Raiders actually winning the game against the Titans. So they're going to go into Kansas City, who's the number 1 seed, and play them. And the Ravens are actually going to play against the Bills in Buffalo, and the Bills are actually going to come out on top. And there goes our awesome possum AFC championship game, which is going to be Chiefs at Bills, or I'm sorry, Bills at Kansas City, and guess who's going to win it? I think Kansas City's going to win it. They're going to take their trip back to the Super Bowl, and they're going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Jarrett?
Okay, so we have some similarities that I noticed.
Of course.
How Jose did point out though that there was 3 different like teams on average, like year to year. I looked at my picks, and I actually, for both the AFC and NFC, I have 3 new teams in both conferences, just coincidentally. Okay. I did put a lot of effort into this. Like I went team by team, looked at the opponents, and kind of had like a rough estimate of how many wins I think they'd have based on this point in the season. I also have the records written down. I have a bunch of notes. I don't know if you want me to name the records I have, but I do have them just in case. Yeah. For the AFC, I actually do not have the same number 1 seed as you. I have the number 1 seed is the Buffalo Bills with a record of 13-4. Number 2, actually a kind of a shock. I have number 2 is the Colts at 12-5. I have number 3, the Ravens at 12-5. My 4th seed is the Chiefs at 11-6. My number 5 is the Titans at 11-6, and then I have the Chargers at the 6th seed at 10-7, and my 7th seed. You pointed on this. You don't think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. So I had 3 teams that were 10-7 that I could have put in here, and those were the Bengals, the Patriots, and the Browns. And it was a tough. This was by far my toughest decision of the entire thing, but I actually went with the Bengals as the 7th seed here. I know that there was like a lot of luck that went into them making the Super Bowl and maybe even the playoffs in general. But I can't see the Bengals not making it. I think Burrow has already solidified himself as a superstar quarterback, and I feel like teams with superstar quarterbacks are more likely to make the playoffs than not. Plus, that defense is solid. I think they have like top 3 in cap space this offseason, so they can make some big signings if need be. They can finally get rid of Eli Apple. You know, there's some moves that can be made. As for the bracket, so first round in the wild card, it'd be the Colts. It'd be Bengals at Colts, which I know I just hyped up the Bengals all like that, but I do have the Colts winning the game. Then there would be the Chargers at the Ravens, and that is my first upset of the playoffs. I have the Chargers upsetting the Ravens. I think Justin Herbert is going to have a great year next year, and I know I have them only as the 6th seed, but the AFC is just so strong top to bottom. I think it's going to be hard to get to the playoffs with no matter how good a team you are. And I think the Chargers upset the Ravens. Lamar Jackson still hasn't really proven that he can be a like a playoff, like big game quarterback. And then I have the Titans traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs winning that one. So that would mean the Chargers travel to Buffalo to face the Bills. I do have the Bills winning that one. The Chiefs traveling to Indianapolis, and I wanted to say the Chiefs, but I actually went with the Colts in that one. I think this is, again, like we were saying, way too early. So this is how I assume everything's going to play out. I think the Colts are going to go and get a big name quarterback. I don't see them not doing that. I know they don't have like a first round pick this year, which doesn't make that the easiest thing, but I feel like they're going to find a way to get a quarterback. And I have the Colts winning. And so that would leave the Colts traveling to the Bills for the AFC Championship game. And I have the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl.
So, real quick, you're telling me that you have the Chiefs at one point in the playoffs traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts.
Yep.
Yeah, you're much bolder than I am. I'll give you that.
Listen, who predicted the Rams to win the Super Bowl back in September? I mean, I know what I'm doing in this whole way too early stuff.
And midway through the season, were you still hanging on that, or?
I think I made it clear on the podcast. I was hanging on with the Rams-Bills Super Bowl all the way through. Even on that 3-game losing streak, I was like, Rams got this in the bag.
Okay. Wow. A lot going on. A lot to unpack there, guys. It was really so if I get this right, if I got this right, Tom, you got the Bills number 1 actually winning the whole thing, or?
No, I have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl.
Chiefs, that's what I'm sorry. Jared had
Jared's got the Bills.
The Bills. But you had the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, and Jared's got and one thing I found interesting, you got Bengals not even going to the playoffs, is that right?
Yeah, maybe it was a bad idea, but I took them off the picture.
Man, a lot of moves. I don't know. What do you think would be? I don't know if you mentioned it already. What do you think would be a difference for them to? I mean, they got all their players back, right? Do you think that they would drop off that much? I know it's like there might be a stat out there. I love stats. I'm a stat guy, but there's a stat the losing team in the Super Bowl doesn't even come back to the playoffs. Did that have anything to factor in?
Yeah, I mean, one, that's very rare, and two, like I said, I mean, we're doing all this before free agency and trade deadlines and all kinds of stuff. You never know who they're gonna sign, and maybe they'll address the offensive line and make it a lot better. And if they do, they have a chance. But even this year, although the Bengals actually made the Super Bowl, them making the playoffs weren't they the number 7 seed? They barely made it in after their entire division was starting to crumble in the second half of the season. I think that definitely helped them. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them. They still played well, but even in the playoffs, I think the Titans crumbled just a tad towards the end. I think the mistakes on Titans end cost the game for the Titans rather than Bengals winning it. I think Tannehill just threw bad interceptions, especially, or the worst was towards the end of the game. That wasn't a great play by the Bengals defense. It was just a bad play by Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
I think they caught a lot of breaks along the way, and I just don't see them doing the same exact unless they improve the team. I don't see them catching the same amount of breaks as they did to make it back in.
That's fair. Understood. Closing thoughts on the AFC there, Jared, so we can move on to the NFC. What do you think?
What I will add in Tom's defense is, like I said, I was very I was heavily debating adding the Bengals to the playoffs myself. That's why I barely had them sneaking into the 7th seed. Yeah, like I had pointed out, they do have a lot of cap space. I think it's top 3 in the league in cap space, and I feel like their only really big hole is their offensive line. But good teams don't tend to let offensive linemen go in free agency. A lot of the great ones don't even make it to free agency. So it's not really a good spot to get a lot of great offensive linemen. And I feel like with the Bengals offensive line as a whole, they don't really have any like solid pieces that I think are like a contending team level of like elite kind of offensive linemen. So they kind of have to start from scratch there, in my opinion. As you watched in the Super Bowl, I think that was a big reason why they lost. They kept it competitive, and I give big credit to that defense and to Burrow, the receivers, on making it that competitive. But that offensive line did not help out the entire game whatsoever. And so I will agree with Tom on that. I think like it's hard to do when it's this early because we don't know what the teams are going to exactly look like. But it's basically if they fix that offensive line somehow through free agency and the draft, I could very well see them in the playoffs. If they don't fix it at all, I could very well see them not making the playoffs. So I think they're very much on the fence there. So I'll give Tom some credit on that one.
And don't worry. I mean, like if you're wrong, we won't come back to this video and tell you that next year at all.
Oh, we will.
I mean, I won't, right, Tom? You will? Okay. So don't worry about it.
Unless I'm wrong, then I'm gonna pretend like this video does not exist.
This is a safe place. Don't even worry about it. So, all right. Well, we covered the AFC pretty well right there. We have another conference that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss something, Tom?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for you before we moved on. Non-football related. Love the living room. Said, do you not have a TV?
Yes. Do you want to have like? Oh no, I have this beautiful piano here that I like to play for my guests when they come in.
Wow.
Play you guys a tune later on. And I don't have my green screen today, so you can see my moving around, but you can see the rest of the living room. It's really nice, and it's under remodeling right now. I'm sorry for all the mess.
Oh, okay. You're okay.
Great question. Great question. We'll touch on that soon. All right. Well, moving on to the next conference, the great NFC, home of the what is it? Yeah, home of the NFC Rams. I just won the Super Bowl right now. I was making sure I was in the right conference there for a minute. I'm like, oh, would it be bad? But let you guys take it, and I'll let you start on the AFC, Tom. So, Jay Rice, go ahead and take it away with the NFC, sir.
How you pointed out the great NFC, I'm just gonna counterpoint that. The NFC is so much worse than the AFC.
Sir, they just won the Super Bowl, so I
get that.
I'm sorry, they have for at least 4 months. They're gonna be the great NFC.
When I was doing
I was making my picks, it turned to a joke real fast.
With the AFC, I was like, "Oh man, there's some good teams that I don't have making it, and I really want to put them in the playoff because they're playoff level teams." With the NFC, I'm like, some of these like division winners, like
I mean, not the whole NFC,
but one of my division winners, actually 2 of my division winners have pretty bad records, so not that great, but
it's just like in poker. You just need a chip and a seat. That's all you need. You need one good team, and that's all to get you all the way to the Super Bowl.
Which honestly, it might be the case in my bracket as well. But with the NFC, the number 1 seed, I do have the Rams with the number 1 seed at a record of 13-4, same as the Bills. My number 2 seed, this may come as a surprise as a Bears fan. I do have an NFC North team that is not the Packers. I have the Minnesota Vikings with the number 2 seed with an 11-6 record, which I'll talk about them a little bit more later because we'll get to that point. The number 3 seed, I have the Cowboys with a 8-9 record. Number 4, I have the Falcons winning their division with an 8-9 record. The 5th seed, you can call me biased, I don't care. I have the Bears in the 5th seed with a 10-7 record. I have the 6th seed as the Cardinals, 9-8. I will say, if you've seen the Bears' schedule, you can agree with me slightly more. They have a really easy schedule. And as much as I hate to say it, the 7th seed, I do have the Packers with a 9-8 record. So I do have the Packers in the playoffs. I have 3 NFC North teams in the playoffs.
Is this with Aaron Rodgers playing or without?
This is with Aaron Rodgers, and I know that sounds bizarre to only win 9 games with Aaron Rodgers, but again, I'm going to keep saying this to defend myself, but it's so early on because from my knowledge, they have to cut a lot of players to make the space to get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams or one or the other. They are in cap hell, as it's known. And I feel like obviously some people say cap is a myth, so I'm not 100% sure, but yes, I have them winning 9 games with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback just because I feel like they're going to have to it's going to be a completely different team and it's going to be a much worse team than it was last year. That's just my opinion on it. As for the bracket, I have the Packers traveling to the division rival Vikings, and I have the Vikings winning the game. I have the Cardinals traveling to Dallas, and Dallas hosting a game back-to-back. I have them losing again in the wild card to an NFC West team in the Cardinals. And then I have the Bears traveling to Atlanta. And I will say I did pick the Bears to win it at first, but then I stopped for a second. I'm like, listen, we're going to need time to become an actual good team. I don't think we're going to make that big of a jump. So I have the Falcons actually beating the Bears in the wild card. So I have the Cardinals traveling to LA to face the Rams. Rams winning that one. And then I have the Falcons traveling to Minnesota to play the Vikings. And I have the Vikings winning that one. So then I have the Rams playing the Vikings in the NFC Championship game. And it may be bizarre that I have the Vikings here given they're an NFC North team and I'm supposed to hate them. But I think that they got a really good coaching hire. I think that they have talent all over the roster. Kirk Cousins is a big question mark in my opinion, yes. But Justin Jefferson is debatably the best receiver in football already. I think Adam Thielen is great. Dalvin Cook is a great running back. Their offensive line is pretty solid, especially in comparison to a team who just made the Super Bowl in the Bengals. The Minnesota Vikings offensive line is a lot better. And their defense is also pretty solid as well. Danielle Hunter is amazing. Eric Kendricks is great. I know Patrick Peterson is getting up there in age, but he's still a solid cornerback. And with that being said, though, I do have the Rams back in the Super Bowl. And this might seem pretty familiar. I do have the Rams and Bills in the Super Bowl once again. Just I know, bizarre, but that's how I have it. Rams, Bills, Super Bowl. What say you?
So and who's gonna win it?
Do you want me to? I don't know if you want me to announce that yet.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it. At this point, I'll just make it easy for you. I don't have either of these teams in the Super Bowl, so go for it.
Okay, I'm flipping it slightly. I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year. Getting off I still love Cooper Kupp, and I think there's a chance, but I'm going to go with the Bills in this one. I think Josh Allen deserves it. He had a perfect postseason and didn't even make it past the divisional round, which is insane.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to address this to begin with. This is why you'll never hear me talk about cap space way too much. It's almost like talking about how much tax a rich person should pay. I'm sorry. There's always a way around it. And they have their lawyers and accountants sit in a room together and they figure it out. It's nothing illegal, but they just manipulate it. They find a loophole and then they don't pay their taxes. Okay? Can't blame them. They did their smart job. They made it work. It happened. That's how cap space in the NFL work. Okay? Every year they're like, oh, these 4 teams, we have no idea what they're going to do because their cap space, they're so over. Oh, they just signed like 6 more guys way over the budget that we thought they couldn't sign for. So I'm going to throw the cap space thing out the window, and I'm going to say if they really want to keep players and figure it out, they could keep players and figure it out. For me, 3rd time's the charm, guys. 3 years in a row, number 1 seed. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. And also, I think this is going to be his final year with the Packers. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. I think if he's going to come back, he's going to come back for 1 more. And then he is more than likely, I can totally see him just retiring, not even going to go to another team. Rodgers isn't a team, Jose. Packers is. No, but I like that. I do like the Rodgers thing because without Rodgers, none of this is possible. See, Rams, on the other hand, even without Stafford, it's they've done it. They've been to the Super Bowl, but Packers, it's been a minute. So the Packers number 1. I do have the Rams number 2. I got the Cowboys number 3 again because someone in that trash of a division has to win. And then, Jared, I'm glad you had the same answer here. I had the Falcons winning the division because, let's face it, Saints have nobody to turn to quarterback wise, and they, besides their defense, they don't have much going on. As far as I know, that if you want to see Alvin Kamara play, we're gonna have to make longest yard 2 because he might still be in prison. And the Buccaneers just, unless they get their quarterback, you don't have to shake your head, Jared. Unless they get the quarterback situation figured out, it's the Bucs are not going to be great. It might as well put the ball in James Winston's hand. So those are my division winners. And for the wild card, I have 49ers as the number 5 seed. I have the Bears as your number 6 seed.
That's some feels, bro.
And I had the Philadelphia Eagles as the number 7 seed. So starting off wild card weekend, Philly's going to travel to LA to take on the Rams. Rams are clearly going to win that game. Philly's just there just because the spot's open. Okay, it's like, I drove into a parking lot, somebody just pulled out of the spot, and there's a spot. I didn't do anything for it. It was just there for me. But Philly's going to lose that game. The 49ers are going to travel to Atlanta, even though we can argue the 49ers are probably a much better team because of positioning in division, blah, blah, blah. 49ers are going to travel to Atlanta. And then, here's the fun fact. I think Atlanta is somehow going to pull it off. I think Falcons are actually going to beat the 49ers. Bears are going to play. They're going to travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And I'm sorry, that's the end of the road for you, Jared. I don't think the Bears are going to win. I think the Cowboys are actually going to win the game. So now we have the Cowboys traveling to LA, somewhat of a rival game, some would say. And I think LA is actually going to win that game because it's the Cowboys. They don't know how to go past the divisional round. Falcons, on the other hand, they have to travel to Green Bay and take on Aaron Rodgers the final year, and the Packers, even though last time in the NFC Championship game, Rodgers had to travel all the way to Atlanta to get their teeth kicked in. Tables are going to turn this time. Packers are going to win the game. So now you have Rams, LA, traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers. And just like last year's NFC Championship divisional round game, not this year, not the one that just ended, the year before, Rams played in Green Bay, and halfway through the game, they were a little lost. I understand Darnold was a little hurt in that game, but Packers are zero trouble just knocking him out. I know a lot of things have changed on the team, whatnot. At the end of the day, I just don't see Rams being a team that was able to beat the Packers. Even this past year when they played, it wasn't even close. And I have the Packers winning, and I think the Packers are actually going to go to the Super Bowl. And then Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. The big money question, which I kind of keep going back and forth in this, look, I'm going to kind of ruin it. I know we're going to get to it in a second, but I was like, does the MVP also get to be the Super Bowl MVP? And I went back and forth on it a lot. Unfortunately, my answer is going to be no to that. By now, you can pick who the MVP is. I think Packers are going to win the Super Bowl, and then Rodgers is going to call it a day.
So the hill you want to die on is the fact that the Aaron Rodgers finally wins a big playoff game. That's all I'm going to say.
The what?
The hill you're dying on is, do you think that Rodgers finally wins a playoff game?
Yeah, I think he finally, because I think if he can make it to a Super Bowl, he can win it. I think Super Bowl isn't his trouble. I think the NFC Championship game is his trouble, and he's going to get through it. And if he does, he's going to go there. And I don't know. But I can see the guy, if Chiefs and Packers, and I think at one point this last year, I had the Chiefs and Packers in the Super Bowl. And I picked the Packers to win, but I can see it going either way. I did go back and forth a little, and I had the Packers just winning it. I think it's a nice little ride off into the sunset.
I might just be bitter because I hate the Packers, but
yeah, you are.
I mean, I did have the Vikings in the NFC Championship, and they're also a rival. I just think, like, I pointed this out many times throughout the regular season last year that that's gonna be confusing how to word. So like this last season, this Packers team I thought was substantially worse than the season before when they lost in the
Yes, I agree.
NFC Championship to the Bucks. And I
Hmm.
think this next season that we're predicting is they're going to be even worse than they were this last year. I
But
feel
you
like
don't
they're
know
going
that.
on a downhill. I know. I guess this is like I said. This is way too
Well,
early.
we don't know none of
Way
this.
too early predictions. But I just think that they're getting worse every time. And I can't. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers. I'm starting to think more and more that he's going to stay in Green Bay. But at the same time, it's going to be weird coming from a Bears fan. It's scaring me less and less the fact about him being in Green Bay. Because to make it happen, they have to keep kicking the can down the road, as it's been said, with the cap space, and keep pushing the money back and back. But you can only push it so far back, and they're going to get to a point where they literally cannot afford to pay anybody, and they're going to be stuck with like Jordan Love and nobody else.
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that when you say that they're going to keep pushing the money back, however much, if Aaron Rodgers after one more year calls it quits, then that itself, you don't have a $40 million quarterback anymore. At some point, your cap space is going to start to open back up. It's just a matter of how you maneuver your
Well,
contracts and whatnot.
if from my knowledge, if you keep pushing the cap back, like with like restructuring contracts, basically the only way to make it to where you don't have to pay it that year is if you extend the player and then push it back some more. Which there's to a
Yeah,
point where you physically cannot do that anymore, and they're gonna have people who aren't even like on the team anymore with just cap hit. That is
they're going to
insane.
sign Aaron Rodgers to a 6-year, $15 million a year deal, and then Rodgers is just going to call it quits and you're just going to keep paying him.
I mean, if you say so.
There's always a way around cap.
What
We
is
could
that?
we could
Always
agree
the
to
way.
disagree. We could. Well, Sean Payton didn't want to deal with the cap in New Orleans anymore, and he said deuces.
And
So I mean,
Peyton don't want to deal with not having Drew Brees anymore.
Yeah, I think that might be
he's
it
the one who
better.
loved Taysom Hill. He
He
picked
what?
Taysom Hill. He's the one who picked Taysom
And
Hill.
he
loved
messed
Taysom.
up. I think
Listen,
he's
I know.
going to realize that.
It's like
We can agree to disagree on the Packers here, but we can move on before it gets a little too ranty.
so big picks, right? Rodgers versus who's gonna call it? Who's gonna be the quarterback for the
homeboy.
Rams? Is Mr. Stafford?
Stafford, who's going to be?
Yeah, no, I'm playing. It was this also includes Devontae Adams in the deal, right? So Packers going all the way to the end.
I don't think
get franchise tag.
I don't think Devontae Adams stays because, like I said, again, I'm going
We
back
won't
to
have a
cap,
choice.
and
If he gets
Tom's gonna get
franchise.
mad at me. Well, you can only franchise tag if you have the cap space, and the franchise tag I think is like 20 million. They're like negative 48 million in cap right now. They have to get to positive 20 million to tag him. That's a lot of cap you have to make your way through.
So Magic Fairy,
That
the
would
Cap Fairy comes around.
That would take so much for a almost 30-year-old receiver. I don't see it.
They can just sell out 300 more shares, 300,000
I think the
shares.
almost 30-year-old receiver thing is irrelevant when it comes to Devontae Adams.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
Well, because if you're only planning on tagging him for the 1 year and you make that known, I think you're gonna piss him off. I think this is already a touchy thing with him, and I
mean, anybody you franchise tag is gonna be
obviously,
mad. Yeah.
you don't want to move on from Devontae Adams, but listen, if you keep Aaron Rodgers and move Devontae Adams, as much as I hate the man, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback who can make receivers better, and I think he can work with less than Devontae Adams and nobody else if he gets uses the cap they could have with Devontae Adams to get 2 other receivers.
Well, so this is solely on Aaron Rodgers big time, right? Because if Aaron Rodgers says, "Hey, I'll come back for one final year," I don't look. Let's be honest. He doesn't have to give a crap about money at this point, right? He's got all the money in the world. He can say, "Let's restructure the contract. Forget my money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get Devontae in here." And if you tell Devontae, "Hey, we would like to tag you for the next year, which you're going to get $20 million if we tag you, and you get to play with Aaron Rodgers." Do you think even if Devontae Adams is getting offered $25 million a year somewhere else for a contract, which from a financial standpoint, I fully understand. Do you think how many quarterbacks do you think Devontae Adams is going to want to go to rather than stay for $20 million for one more year to play with Aaron Rodgers?
That is fair. I will credit you with that. I think he could. I know this isn't exactly what you asked because it was more of a rhetorical question, but I could very well see him going to Vegas. He's made it clear he wants to play with
To
Carr.
Vegas?
Yeah, he wants to
Oh,
play
okay.
with him.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's quarterbacks out there.
I'm just gonna point out, I'm gonna find it hilarious if like we're saying this now and then Aaron Rodgers decides like tomorrow and he's like, yeah, nope, I'm leaving. And so none of this means anything whatsoever. But
well, he apparently did say he might retire, but then that's like, I don't know. That's Aaron Rodgers is starting to be one of the most undecisive men I've ever seen.
It's one of the most unlikable people ever.
Let me throw you guys a hypothetical question. Y'all ready for this? Since we're doing too early, so let's go ahead and go all out. Okay, so I'm going to give y'all one of two scenarios that's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers right now is about 4,000 some yards behind Matt Ryan, 4,375 yards to be exact, behind Matt Ryan passing yards. This year he threw for 4,115. Will he pass up Matt Ryan, or which one's more likely, or will Matthew Stafford win 2 playoff games and make it back to the Super Bowl?
Okay, so is it more likely for Aaron Rodgers to pass Matt Ryan in career passing yards?
Yeah,
or Matthew Stafford win 2 playoff games this year?
Oh, that's a very easy question. And I don't think
Ryan...
you're considering something right here, right now.
Oh,
you're not considering Matt Ryan's not retiring.
Yeah.
He's not retiring?
Matt Ryan's still there.
Yeah, Matt Ryan's still there. Matt Ryan can literally go throw for 2,000 yards next season.
Matt Ryan is retiring in this scenario. So let's go ahead.
Hypothetically, so are we saying, wait, how many yards does he need? 4,000 what?
4,375 to pass Matt Ryan. Yes, if he plays, yes, but also who knows he's going to go that far anyway.
So basically, you're asking, do we think there's a higher chance of Rodgers throwing for more than 4,300 yards, or if the Rams are going to win 2 playoff games?
Correct, and he hasn't thrown over 4,300 yards. He only thrown 4,400 4 years ago, I think.
Well, in my scenario, I have the Rams with the number 1 seed, so they'd have to make the Super Bowl for this to happen.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So
I have the Rams at number 2, and they're in the NFC Championship game, so I'm going to go with the Rams winning 2 playoff games.
I mean, by my thing, I have them number 1 seed and in the Super Bowl, which is 2 wins. So mine would also be the Rams. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams on that one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, in this scenario, Matt Ryan's retired. Okay, and he should be retiring. I mean, come on.
Hold on. How many yards have Matt Ryan thrown for?
I didn't know he was. I didn't know Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was above Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
I saw your face when you asked the question, and you looked confused, and I was like.
When did Matt Ryan come into the league? Like
2008, 2009?
8, right?
Yeah, he's thrown for 59,735, and Aaron Rodgers is at 55.
You're telling me that Aaron Rodgers came into the league and he actually started in 07, right? Like he sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years.
Yeah.
I will say Aaron Rodgers also, I think, has missed a lot more games than Matt Ryan.
That's very true. That is very true. You are correct. I am not taking that into account.
Aaron Rodgers has missed. I'm sorry to interrupt. I also didn't want to put, he's right below Eli Manning right now. He's only 2,000 yards away from Eli Manning. I figured that one would be a little bit more. So I didn't want to go too high on the list. So that's why I threw Matt Ryan out there. Yes, it's a great point. Matt Ryan does have a couple years left on his contract, if I'm not mistaken, with the Falcons. And he's getting paid quite a hefty sum. I doubt he'll retire, but it's my hypothetical.
Matt Ryan actually is going to be his cap hit for this upcoming season is the highest in NFL history. With like 48.3 million or something.
It's crazy.
Restructure, bro.
That's what I'm talking about. This captain. You're saying just keep pushing it back. Well, then you get Matt Ryan for 50 million a year.
Restructure, bro.
The guys, but
that's what I'm saying. They can, don't they? Okay, and I could be very wrong here. Let's say Matt Ryan has a $48 million cap hit coming, right? Can Matt Ryan agree to redo his entire contract and say, erase my contract and I'll sign, restructure the contract to where he signs a 2-year contract for $10 million each? Just throwing a random number out there. But is that not a thing they can do in the NFL?
I'm not a contract negotiator.
I feel like you wouldn't be able to, because I feel like that would be a very easy way to get out of, cap
but that's what New Orleans did with Taysom Hill's contract.
To get out of cap, but that both parties have to sign on it, right? If Matt Ryan says no to signing, because that's
fair. I don't. But you know what? Can you name one NFL player who's like, I'll take $38 million less for the
$10 million was just a random number I was throwing out there. Let's say Tom Brady, for instance, he originally signed a 2-year, $50 million contract with the Buccaneers. After last year, he restructured his contract to where whatever money he was going to have left, he was going to end up getting paid if he played another year. Like they didn't pay him. I think the first year they paid him $20 million, and the second year was supposed to be $30 million. So after the first year, instead of him getting $30 million, they restructured it to where he was going to end up getting like $37 million or whatnot, but it was divided to 2 years. So from a per year cap standpoint, they were still paying Brady less.
I mean, I guess
Mhm.
I do not know the correct answer to your question. I cannot say for certain. I guess if both parties do agree to it, then maybe they can't really say, "Hey, no, you can't agree to that."
Yeah.
I don't
So
know how
if
that
you
would work. We need
I'm sorry.
a
I
cap
listen. I
specialist.
really like Matt Ryan. He's now worth $48 million a year.
It's a great question. Let me watch that movie with Kevin Costner, Draft Day, and there's a lot of great
Drafted,
information.
one of
Yeah.
my favorite movies ever.
And
Love that one.
we'll go and I'll just check on the details. I'm sure it can happen. We can make some trades or something like that, and we'll figure it out. Though Kevin Costner knows everything, so I think we touched on a little bit on the stuff. By the way, real quick, 1 minute. I'm going to give you guys both one closing thought on the NFC playoffs. Who wants? I think Jared, you went first on this. So Tom, final thoughts on the NFC playoff picture. 45 seconds. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't really have much other than the fact that the NFC is so like there's like maybe two teams you can look at and go, man, they can potentially make the Super Bowl, and that's because one of them have to make the Super Bowl. The rest of the NFC just looks like absolute joke to me at this point, especially if Rodgers leaves. Look, Cowboys can't be the only team in the NFC, and they'll still find a way to lose in the divisional.
It's wide open right there. Yeah. And
so that's my closing thought. It's I mean, if you want to win a Super Bowl, now is the time to go to some good NFC team and join and try to go for it, because there's not a lot of competition.
And what say you, Jarrett?
If we want to go with my closing thoughts, I'm kind of going to agree with Tom, which I see based on my list. I see one team I could see in the as of right now. I see one team I could see in the Super Bowl. That's the team I picked, which is the Rams. My number 2 seed is the Vikings. If this was like a competent conference, I could not see the Vikings in a Super Bowl. This if
this was a competent conference, do you see them in the NFC Championship game? Also,
no, I guess. But like Vikings, no. Cowboys, definitely not. The Falcons, I think they're going to be I have a gut feeling they're going to be an underdog this year, and they're going to surprise people. But I'm saying surprise people by even making the playoffs and maybe winning a game. I have the Bears. Bears are not winning a Super Bowl. They're not going to sniff a Super Bowl for the next 2 years at least. The Cardinals, they're going to win 8 straight games and then lose 7 of the last 9 for some reason. And then, the Packers, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers in big games. So I think the Rams are the only team I can see making a Super Bowl at this point. The NFC is so weak compared to the AFC.
Kyler Murray's starting to be a diva, in my opinion, because he's starting to turn into Aaron Rodgers. Let me go delete all my Instagram posts about the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm also going to point this out. I said there's one team I can see in the NFC making the Super Bowl. In the AFC, I think the 2 teams that I also had at 10-7, who I didn't even put in the playoffs, I could see making the Super Bowl. I think the AFC is that good. I just think the NFC is that bad. I have the Patriots not making the playoffs, and I could see them, if they were in the NFC, they're probably the Super Bowl favorites.
All right. Well, those are great closing thoughts, guys. Really wonderful. And it's going to be really great seeing it unfold 12 months from now. It's going to be so awesome. Well, no, 10 months, right? Whatever. Let's go on to the next one. So I think, what do y'all want to start with? MVP, best coach, offensive
You want to start
player,
from with coach and then move to MVP, or whichever one's.
Sounds good. Let's go. Best coach of the year next year. I think Jarrett, you went first this one. Tom, why don't you go ahead and take it away with best coach, sir?
Okay, so this might be a little, I might be contradicting with myself on how much I just trashed this division and team going in, and then now I'm going to pick the coach and say he's the coach of the year, and now that I think about it, I'm like, crap. Why? Because they're not going to win anything. I picked Dennis Allen to be the coach of the year. I think that that entire division, Falcons, Panthers, Saints, and what's the last one? Bucks. Duh. I don't think either of these teams. It's gonna remind me a little bit of Cowboys or the NFC. Are they the NFC East last year? That's what it's going to remind me of, because all of these teams are going to be borderline 500 teams, and one of them has to make the playoffs, and therefore one of them will end up making the playoffs. None of them will make wild card. That is, for a second I thought that was Jarrett. Threw me off big time. Look, I think Dennis Allen's great, especially when it comes to defense. We saw the way he coached against Tampa Bay this last year when Sean Payton was out, and did a phenomenal job. Held the Bucs to 0 points. I think that he will give lots of teams lots of troubles. Unfortunately, with what he's given going into next year, which we basically have a running back / tight end as a quarterback, he's not going to be able to do much without it. And I don't care how fantastic of a coach you are. If you don't have a great quarterback, you can't get far. If you don't have a good quarterback, you can't really get far in today's NFL league. And Dennis Allen, unfortunately, don't have a good enough team around him for him to. I think he's going to miss Atlanta by one game. I think Atlanta is going to make the playoffs because one of those teams have to make the playoffs. So yeah, I have Dennis Allen winning it. Basically, with what he's given and what he's going to do, I think it's going to be Dennis Allen. But go ahead, Jarrett.
Dennis Allen's actually a pretty good one. I did an AFC coach, and I actually had them with a good record. I didn't contradict myself whatsoever with this. I'm just gonna throw a little shade there. I actually went with Frank Reich, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. I think that coach of the year usually goes to like a team that like overachieved compared to like the last season and stuff like that. And the Colts weren't even a playoff team last year, and I have them, going 12-5, which is quite a big jump. I also think Frank Reich is just a good coach in general. I think that he has greatly improved the Colts as a whole, as a team. I think that their defense might take a step back, losing Matt Eberflus to the Bears, and they're kind of switching up the defensive scheme a little bit. But I think overall that the Colts are going to be a very good team. I still think they're going to – I don't know which quarterback they're going to go. They're going to get an upgrade at quarterback, which I know isn't the most difficult thing to do whenever your starter last year was Carson Wentz. But they're going to get an upgrade, and I think that'll push them over the edge. Because, like you said, if you no matter how good of a coach you are, if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't mean that much. And I think he's going to go out and get that quarterback.
Real quick, when you say they're going to get an upgrade, do you think they're going to get rid of Carson Wentz this year?
Yes. Which it's been rumored that they're trying to get rid of him anyways. They just have to find a taker for that. If not, they can cut him. But
I think it's time for him to call it a day, man.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, he didn't play that bad most of last year, but then at the end of the season, it was awful. And against the Jaguars, he threw like 3 picks and was the reason that like people are like clowning on the Colts defense for allowing that many points to the Jaguars, but the amount of picks that Wentz threw that are like turnovers he had that gave the Jaguars the ball and like 30 yards away from a touchdown is the reason why they won. And Carson Wentz is a big problem with that.
Sounds like a pretty good selection right there. You guys backed it up with what teams are going to the Super Bowl and everything. So I'm moving on along to the next one. I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts on coaches, but I think y'all covered it pretty well. Right?
I will add one thing about coaches. I know this is incredibly late, but I did finish my article about my my like least to favorite head coaching changes, like new hires this season. So I'm just going to throw that out there if anyone wants to take a look at it.
CoolSportsGuide.com, y'all. Check it out. Coming out this Friday. Jared's new article. Hell yeah. Good stuff. So then I know we touched a little bit on the MVP, but I figured let's go. Since we already touched on that a little bit, let's go ahead with Offensive Player of the Year, if you guys are okay. Who went first? Jared, want to go first with this one, sir?
For Offensive Player of the Year?
Offensive Player of the Year, yes, sir.
Again, I think this is going to show how unbiased I am. I went with a division rival for this one. I went with Justin Jefferson. No. I went with Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Justin Jefferson, he, after 2 years in the league, has already defined himself as one of the best, if not the best receiver in all of football. The dude's insane. I think, I think Kirk Cousins is definitely a, serviceable quarterback. I think he's good. Imagine if he had, a star quarterback, like a superstar, like Devontae Adams, who I think is talented nonetheless, but he has Aaron Rodgers. Imagine if someone like Justin Jefferson had an Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or something like that, would break all of the receiving records like ever. Justin Jefferson is one of the most talented receivers I've ever seen, and it pains me that the Eagles management didn't draft him and they picked Jalen Reagor instead, so I have to deal with him twice a year. Justin Jefferson, I think this year he was like close to like yardage records and such. I think next year, I don't know if this is even a hot take at this point. I think Justin Jefferson is going to break the record for most yards in the season.
Ooh, okay. Maybe Tom might have something different.
Yeah, I do have something different. Like, first of all, when we say that Devontae Adams have Aaron Rodgers and these players with these quarterbacks, I'm not saying the quarterbacks have nothing to do with the receivers, but have you seen Devontae Adams get triple covered and still be open?
Listen,
that's got nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers.
I like I said, I did clarify. I know Devontae Adams is a fantastic receiver nonetheless, but Kirk Cousins misses throws when Justin Jefferson is open. Have you ever seen Aaron Rodgers miss an open throw? Doesn't happen very often.
I have seen Aaron Rodgers miss an open throw.
I mean,
I've seen Aaron Rodgers not throw when people are open and lose NFC Championship games.
Whoa!
But
wow, you're the one throwing shade on Aaron Rodgers, not me. That's pretty insane.
Okay, so listen. First of all, I think it's epic to me that you went with a receiver as the offensive player of the year, while I feel like I can name at least 3 receivers that I feel like are gonna perform better than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is fantastic, without a doubt, a top 5. But you brought up Devontae Adams. You forgot Cooper Kupp?
I love Cooper Kupp, but I think that like recency, or I don't know what like voters fatigue is what they call it in basketball. I assume it's the same thing in the NFL, but like people don't really like voting for players back to back. It just
unless
doesn't
it's Aaron Rodgers. By the way, one of the most hated players in the NFL this year just won back-to-back MVPs.
I get
it. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this out there. If Cooper Kupp has another triple crown,
if he gets a triple crown, then no doubt he's gonna get it.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's playing, I could see him having a triple crown. But nonetheless,
we're doing predictions right now. He's going to get the triple crown, guys. We're doing predictions. He will.
Okay, yeah.
Hot take.
I'm going to say that Cooper Kupp's going to have another triple crown, which is going to help him get the Offensive Player of the Year award. I think it's going to be Cooper Kupp. I think Devontae Adams deserves it. I don't want to say deserves it, but I think Devontae Adams is a better, since you're going with the receiver for Offensive Player of the Year from an offensive standpoint. From a receiver standpoint, I would pick Devontae Adams over Justin Jefferson. I would take Cooper Kupp over Justin Jefferson, and I would also take, oh my God, what's the dude's name in Cincy?
Ja'Marr Chase.
Ja'Marr Chase. Thank you. I would also take Ja'Marr Chase. I think Tom Brady, if he starts to play receiver, I can also see that happening. Sorry. I mean, he had that one bad non-catch in the Eagles, overthrown ball.
No. I will add to my defense, like we said, I've said this at least 13 times in this episode, but this is way too early, so you kind of don't really. Sometimes shocking things happen, and I think I kind of went for more of the surprise picks in a way.
Fair.
I love Cooper Kupp, and I hope to God he wins it. Cooper Kupp is one of my favorite players ever, but I wanted to switch it up a little bit.
Fair enough.
Let's go to the other side of the ball then. What about for defensive players? Tom, I'll let you take care of this one, sir.
Okay, so it's Aaron Donald.
Okay.
That man is way too dominant for me to not pick him. This year it was TJ Watt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to cover you up there.
It's just like I would be terrified if I'm a quarterback and this guy is standing across from me. I'm just gonna say that. I think he solidified himself as one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game. He's been Defensive Player of the Year 3 times now?
3
so far. Yeah, and I think he's gonna go for a 4th. It doesn't seem like he's talked about retirement, bringing people back. I don't think the Rams are going to bring everybody back, but I do think he's going to end up coming back. And I think he might play his one final year in the NFL. Win or lose, I think he's going to play his final year in the NFL. And I think if he stays healthy, if you as a player know that this is your final year, there's 2 ways to go about it. 1, I'm retiring. I don't care anymore. Or 2, this is it. Let me give it every single thing I got and then call it a day. And I can see Aaron Donald being the person who goes, "This is it. I'm gonna play with everything I got." That's what he did in the Super Bowl, which helped him win big time. Again, I can't pick an MVP, but I made a case to why he could have potentially been the MVP in that game. So therefore, I'm gonna pick Aaron Donald. I think he's gonna come play his final season, and he's gonna give it everything he's got, and he's gonna win the Defensive Player of the Year.
There we go. Not bad. What about you, Mr. Rice?
I'm gonna be honest. I did originally pick Aaron Donald just because I know you said he's defined himself as one of the best defensive players of all time. I'm gonna go out there and say that I think he is the best defensive player of all time. I know recency bias is a thing, and maybe that's just how I feel right now. But I think I've watched quite a lot of NFL players and people known as greats. Aaron Donald has been dominant from as soon as he stepped foot in the league to now. He's been dominant. He's been All-Pro like 7 of his 8 years in the league, other than his rookie year. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is still a great achievement. He's just like the most dominant player at his position, probably on the entire defensive side every single year he's been in the league. It's been insane. But I did not want to pick Aaron Donald. I wanted to pick more of a shocking answer. I went with Roquan Smith, the middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears. I hate talking about the Bears because it makes me sound like I'm biased, yes. But Roquan Smith is such an underrated player in the league, and I'm throwing this out there. I know, not many people are going to see this, but he deserves recognition. Roquan Smith, like linebacker stats wise, like leads all linebackers in like every stat, and still doesn't even get All-Pro first team, which is ridiculous. I don't know if you know who the All-Pro first team like middle linebacker was this year, but it was Devon J. Campbell, the linebacker for the Packers. Roquan Smith, I get, was on a worse team, and that means something, but Roquan Smith also had better stats in literally every single category. Roquan Smith is one of the best like linebackers I've watched in a while. He's insanely fast. He's smart. He's a big hitter. He's actually pretty good for a middle linebacker at getting to the quarterback. He gets quite a few turnovers, whether it be interceptions. I think that this will be the year that he finally gets the recognition he deserves and gets a Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's the best linebacker in football, not including like edge rushers. I think he's the best linebacker in football, and I think this will be the year that he finally like shows out, and everyone cannot disagree with how good he is.
Fair enough. So that leaves us with one category, guys. One to rule them all. And I don't know. Whoever wants to go first is fine with me. So I don't think the last person that went. Go for it.
Tom, you kind of hinted at yours earlier, so I'll let you go first on this one.
Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to have a bounce back here. I was one of the very many who at some point bashed on how Mahomes isn't performing at the Mahomes level, even though it's one of the highest level performances we'll see from a football player. He is going to have a bounce back year. I think that even though he had somewhat of a down year, you saw the guy ending up, driving his team down the field with 13 seconds left in a playoff game to get him in field goal range. And then you also saw the guy just, didn't really play the best half of his football in the AFC Championship game. But the good thing about the Chiefs is that I like what they address oftentimes. And the Chiefs, last year, offensive line was an issue, and they fixed it coming into this year. So this coming year, if Mahomes and the offense is struggling a bit to put up some points, complete passes, whatever it is, I can kind of rely on the Chiefs to hopefully turn that around and fix that a bit. They're not the best in making in-game adjustments, but they are good making season-to-season adjustments, in my opinion. So I think Mahomes is going to have somewhat of a comeback year, and I think he's gonna have a great year, and I think he's going to win another MVP.
One more time for Mahomes. One more time. Thank you, guys. I don't know if you can see me in the picture there, but I'm in there. All right, go for it.
I think Mahomes is a great one. Honestly, I kind of agree with all of your picks that you've had. I think they're all very good options. I also think that they're very like the favorites for every single award, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. But I always feel like when it comes to awards, if like no one stands out, those people get the awards. But there's always like the out of nowhere someone who has a great season, and so people feel like they deserved, like they just need to get the award. It kind of happens every year, especially with like MVP. I feel like he should have an MVP by now, but I went with Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. I feel like he's had very good seasons, like last year especially. I think he wasn't talked about enough as MVP because he kind of had that rough patch in the like middle towards the end of the season where they lost. I want to say they lost like 2 or 3 games in a row, or 3 out of 4, something like that. And I think that kind of killed his MVP shot. Josh Allen is a stud of a quarterback. He's basically, if you were to build a quarterback in a lab, like body type wise, it's Josh Allen. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, he's got a cannon for an arm. He's pretty accurate. And not to mention their offense, like their coordinator, who I know Brian DeBall just left and went to the Giants, but I feel like their scheme as a whole is going to be similar enough. Josh Allen, I think, is finally coming into his own. He had a near perfect playoffs. I think it honestly was perfect. The only thing that they lost was because of a coin flip, and the defense couldn't make a stop. I think Josh Allen.
Start this argument now.
Oh, man.
I said the defense couldn't get a stop.
I wish we had more than 4 minutes right now. I wish we had
Josh
more.
Allen.
But yes, go for it.
If his defense gets that stop, I think they score, and I think they probably they're in the Super Bowl without a doubt, and they probably win it. I think Josh Allen was having a perfect playoff, and I think it's going to translate to next season. I think Josh Allen's going to win MVP.
Excellent thoughts. Excellent.
By the way, Jose, out of the, I'm sure, hundreds and thousands of pictures of Josh Allen that's probably out on the internet, you found the one with the blood stain on his.
Just to show you how tough he is, I
want
to.
He's tough. He's tough, Tom. He's a trooper.
That's what I was.
That's why he gets MVP.
He's he's out there, and I want to make sure that we get that point across that he's going to get the MVP for it. I aim to please over here. So, guys, this is pretty good. We got a lot of great football topics coming up in the next few weeks until the draft comes up. Free agency comes up pretty soon, so we'll definitely be touching on that. I guess I'll leave you guys the finish of whatever you guys have, the last 30 seconds, 45, whatever. Closing thoughts for you guys?
Anything you want to add, Tom?
Here's a crazy thought, and I know we don't have time to talk about this, but I'm going to leave everybody wondering about this. Russell Wilson to the Patriots.
Okay.
Okay.
What about you? Oh, wait, hang on. I do have one more thing to leave everybody with. Hang on. I'm just gonna hang on. Okay, guys. Gratitude.
Oh, please.
Everybody,
oh my God. Please don't. Nope. Moving on.
All right. See you guys later.
Jared, final thought? We good? Everybody good with that? All right, everybody, check out coolsportsguy.com. Check out our YouTube channel and everything. Please subscribe, and we'll see you here next week talking some more sports. See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.